Hello, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, I will be reviewing God of War 3. Before we get to that, if you want to see more reviews, then feel free to like and subscribe. I would like to preface the story part of the review is not written in my own words. I will have a link to the author of the summary in the description below. Armed with his deadly double-chain blades, Kratos must take on Greek mythology's darkest creatures to destroy Olympus and the mighty Zeus himself. The end is near. Kratos has begun his assault on Mount Olympus, and he will not stop until Almighty Zeus is dead. After years of suffering and endless nightmares, Kratos is finally seeking vengeance upon those who've used him merely as their pawn of war. The God of War is ready to destroy Olympus and may very well end the world itself. So we're back to the part where I talk about the controls. Now, if you watched my past reviews of God of War 1 and 2, you will know that I've had a problem with the quick time events. In the first game, the quick time events were pretty hard. In the second game, they were better, and in this game, they were pretty good as well. Here's something that I want to mention that happened in all of the games. It's the fact that in the first few missions, when you first do the quick time events, that's when they're the hardest. I might be going insane, but I swear that at the beginning of every single game, they purposely make it hard in the beginning, but then it gets easier throughout the game, and I have no clue as to why that is. I will need to mention that the first couple of quick time events in this game were horrendous. I don't know if it's just me, but they were so hard to do, and I have no clue why. It was so bad that I had to go online and figure out different techniques to press the circle button over and over again. I'm going to voice a strong opinion on this and say that you shouldn't have to go on the internet and ask other people on their techniques on how to press a button fast. I obviously found a good technique, but in all honesty, you shouldn't have to put your controller on a table and carefully press the button as fast as possible just to get one quick time event that only lasts literally 5 seconds. The button mashing is just very inconsistent. Almost had to stop playing the game for a day just because of this one issue. For some reason, after the first 2 or 3 times, it was suddenly easy to do. I have no clue as to what happened, but suddenly it was super easy, so I really don't know what happened there. I'm happy to say that there are loads of content in this game. So if you have the regular extra contents, like Arena Mode, where you can do exactly what you do in Ghost of Sparta, where you have the option for unlimited health, one-hit kills, and you can get a significant amount of orbs. It's basically the same thing. The extra details about behind the scenes of the game has made a return, which I'm very glad to see, and it's actually more in-depth this time than it was in the first God of War, which I'm very happy to see. You also have different types of costumes, which I find really cool. With these costumes, you actually get perks with them, like extra health, extra orbs, and magic stuff like that. But there is a catch. That catch is that your trophies are turned off. But I know that really isn't a big deal for a lot of people. That's pretty much it for the content. I know it's not a lot of detail, but that's because the past few games have already had this stuff. I don't usually mention this in reviews, but this game deserves this. This game is so much fun. Dare I say, it might be the best God of War game I have played. I would even go as far as saying it's on par with God of War 2018. Obviously, the story isn't as in-depth as God of War 2018, but it's still a really good game. I might sound psychotic here, but I just love the absolute destruction you cause in this game, and the amount of gore that there is. This game feels like the kind of game where you would relieve stress because you were just so angry. This game would be the perfect game to let that anger out. I think part of the reason why it's so satisfying to go on a killing spree of the gods in this game is because of what they've done to Kratos. I have this feeling, especially for me, because I played every single God of War game. It is so satisfying to see Kratos finally get his revenge that he deserves. It just feels like you're playing as a character who has just had enough of everybody and just doesn't care anymore as long as he gets what he wants. And then to top it all off, he just kills himself after doing all that. On to the opinion part of the game. I'm only going to really touch on one thing, and that's pretty much it. The one thing that I noticed about this game is that it feels like the most complete God of War game that there could have possibly been in the original trilogy. Especially after seeing some of the behind the scenes videos of what they wanted to add in the first two games, but they just didn't have the time to see some of this stuff they wanted in the game be implemented into the second and third game. It's just really nice to see that. God of War 3 feels like the culmination of all of their ideas into one game. It's nice to see such a successful game series get the recognition that they deserve, as well as the fact that the developers are given the time to put some of their coolest ideas into one game. Quite honestly, I might have an odd opinion on this, but I feel like God of War 3 would have been the perfect ending to the God of War series. He finally gets his revenge and destroys the entire world. To be honest, it's quite amazing that they were able to revive this series, and it makes sense. Obviously, they still got some explaining to do, but I'm sure they'll explain it more in the future games. So, if I was reviewing this game when this game just came out, I would have been satisfied with the ending, and would have been like, yeah, they don't need to make another game, but obviously they did make another game, and yeah, I'm glad that they made another game. So, in the gameplay part of God of War series, I usually point out the weapons and what they do, and in God of War 3, it has the most unique weapons out of all of the weapons in the series. You've got weapons like the Blades of Athena, Blades of Exile, Blade of Olympus, Claws of Hades, Nemean Kestis, the Bow of Apollo, Head of Helios, Boots of Hermes, Army of Sparta, Soul Summon, Nemean War, and Nemesis Range. As you can tell, that was a list of all of the weapons that we're able to use in this game, and that's just incredible. So let me explain what each weapon does and what it's good for. So the Blades of Athena, I'm sure you'll know when you see them, are your main weapons when you start off with at the beginning of the game. They're your main weapons, but later on they're taken away from you and replaced with the Blades of Exile. Basically the same weapon, just less powerful. If you've played God of War 1 and 2, you will know what the Blade of Olympus is. It's a divine sword, so powerful that it allowed Zeus to defeat the Titans, and was also known to have the power to harm and kill gods. After defeating Hades, Kratos receives the Claws of Hades. The fighting style is the same as the Blades of Exile, but the moves are executed slower. The Nemean Kestis was originally wielded by Hercules. Kratos can use these weapons to execute impressive combos and can inflict a lot of damage. I use these weapons quite a lot after I get them, just because they were so powerful, and it was good to fight against bigger enemies, because it would throw them around and it was very handy. The Nemesis Whip was created by Hephaestus, and they are a pair of triple blades that are put together, and they also have the power to project electricity. The Bow of Apollo is like any other bow, but with this one, if you charge it up, it'll ignite the arrow, setting nearby enemies on fire. It's very handy for ranged enemies. The Head of Helios is quite literally the decapitated head of Helios, and you use this to go through dark areas by lighting the area with his eyes, and sometimes with some gold particles in the area, you can flash those gold particles and it would show a hidden object, like a chest or a passageway. The Boots of Hermes were used to run up walls. It was pretty brutal how Kratos retrieved those boots. The last few items are magic items, which consist of an Army of Sparta, Soul Summon, Nemean War, and Nemesis Rage. The Army of Sparta is a bunch of Spartan spirits who cover Kratos, and they use spears that are surprisingly powerful. when I upgraded it, also rains down arrows. The soul summon is pretty basic. While wielding the claws of Hades, you will be able to summon various monsters to aid you in battle. The demon roar is also very simple as well. While wielding the demon roar, you basically slam onto the ground and it sends out a shockwave to stun enemies. The final weapon that uses magic is the Nemesis Rage. What this does is that it hits enemies with a blast of energy that's released from the Nemesis Whip. God of War 3 is a very good game. It's well polished, and I would say it's one of the best God of War games ever made. God of War 3 is the combination of all of the best ideas from Santa Monica Studios. I personally like this game the most because it's the most violent and brutal game of all of them. I played this a lot while I was a kid, and it still holds up to today's standards. I have nothing bad to say about this game, so if you get a chance to play it, especially if you have PS Now, give it a try. I guarantee you will not regret it. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you in the next review.